The stars outside the viewing window flickered as another distant explosion lit up the darkness of space. Admiral Zix Vora's 4 eyes narrowed as he watched another of his battle cruisers break apart. Their finest ships were falling one by one. The Void Armada was unstoppable. "Admiral, we've lost the 7th Fleet," said Commander Peldax, her voice trembling slightly. "Proxima Station has fallen." Zix Vora's gray skin turned a shade paler. "How many survivors?" "None, sir. The Void Armada doesn't take prisoners." The command center fell silent. The Galactic Confederation, an alliance of 7 advanced alien species that had ruled this part of the galaxy for thousands of years, was losing a war for the first time in its history. "Call for an emergency meeting of the High Council," ordered Zix Vora. "We need to discuss our options before there are none left." 6 hours later, the 12 members of the High Council gathered in the circular chamber on Nexus Prime, the capital, world of the Confederation. Some attended in person, while others appeared as holograms from distant worlds not yet reached by the Void Armada. Elder Counselor Nevqua, the oldest living member of the Kurilek species, spoke first. "In my 300 years, I never thought I would see our Confederation on the edge of defeat. The Void Armada has destroyed 37 of our worlds in just 60 days. Intelligence Officer Krell Tash stepped forward, her insect-like limbs moving with precision as she activated the holographic display in the center of the room. "Our best predictions show the enemy will reach our core worlds in 3 cycles. Our defenses cannot stop them." "There must be something we haven't tried," said Counselor Brex of the Artheon species. "We have the most advanced technology in the known galaxy." "Technology isn't helping us," replied Zix Vora. "The Void Armada adapts to every weapon and strategy we use. They learn and evolve faster than we can develop new approaches." Kreltash cleared her throat, a habit she had picked up from the humans she had studied. "There might be one option we haven't considered." She tapped a code into her wrist device, and a new image appeared in the display. A small blue-green planet. "Earth?" asked Nevqua, his brow ridges rising in surprise. "Yes," said Kreltash. "I believe the humans might help us." Several council members laughed while others shouted in protest. "The humans are barely space-capable," said one. "They're violent and unpredictable," added another. Zix Vora raised his hand for silence. "Officer Kreltash, explain your reasoning." Kreltash pulled up another file, classified records of an encounter with Earth's military forces from 20 years earlier. What had begun as a routine exploration mission by the Confederation had turned into the only military defeat they had experienced in centuries, until the Void Armada. "We attempted to establish observation posts in their solar system," Kreltash reminded them. "We thought their primitive technology would make them easy to subdue if they resisted." "I remember," said Nevqua quietly. "They destroyed 3 of our most advanced ships and damaged 4 others. We retreated and established a non-interference policy with their world." "Exactly," said Kreltash. "The humans fight differently than we do. They don't follow the standard rules of engagement that have defined warfare in our civilization for thousands of years. They fight dirty," grumbled Counselor Brex. "Yes," agreed Kreltash. "And right now, we need someone who fights dirty." A side door opened, and all eyes turned to watch a slim figure enter the council chamber. She walked with confidence despite being the only human in a room full of aliens. "This is Captain Lori Adams," introduced Kreltash. "She's our ambassador, from Earth, stationed on our diplomatic vessel for the past 2 years. Lori nodded respectfully to the council. She was tall for a human female, with short brown hair and alert eyes that took in every detail of the room. The simple blue uniform she wore stood in stark contrast to the elaborate garments of the council members. "Captain Adams," said Zix Vora, "are you aware of why you've been called here?" "I've been briefed about the Void Armada," she replied. "And I understand you're considering asking Earth for help." "Would your people help us?" asked Nevqua directly. "After our unfortunate first contact?" Lori chose her words carefully. "That was 20 years ago. Earth has changed. We've advanced, considerably since then, though we're still behind the Confederation technologically. We don't need your technology, said Zixvora. We need your approach to warfare, your human perspective. Our scientists believe it stems from your evolutionary history, explained Kreltash. Humans developed as both prey and predator. You understand vulnerability and aggression in ways our species never needed to learn. Lori looked around the room, suddenly understanding the desperation that had brought these proud aliens to consider asking humans for help. You should know that Earth maintains a policy of non-involvement in alien conflicts, she said. After your attempted incursion into our system, many humans are suspicious of the Confederation. We're not asking for your entire military, said Zixvora. Just advisors, experts who understand how to fight an enemy that adapts quickly. The Void Armada isn't just a threat to us, added Nevqua. If they destroy the Confederation, Earth will eventually be in their path as well. Lori took a deep breath. As a diplomatic officer, she knew the politics waiting back home. Earth's governments would be reluctant to get involved in an alien war, yet the threat was real. I have limited authority, she said finally. But I can make the call. I know someone who might be willing to listen. Someone with the influence to make this happen. Who? Asked Zixvora. General Diane Powell, Earth, Defense Force. She commands our combined military operations. She's also the officer who led the defense against your incursion 20 years ago. A murmur ran through the council chamber. Will she help those she once fought against? Asked Nevqua. Lori smiled slightly. That's the thing about humans. We can be your worst enemy or your strongest ally. It often comes down to timing and circumstance. She looked up at the holographic display showing the path of destruction left by the Void Armada. I'll make the call now, she said. But I need to be honest with you all. I can't promise anything. Earth has its own problems and fears. We've been isolated from galactic politics by choice. We understand, said Zixvora. But please impress upon your leaders the urgency of our situation. In 3 cycles, there may not be a Confederation left to save. Lori nodded grimly. I'll do my best. And I'll request something specific. Someone specific, actually. Who? Asked Kreltash. If anyone can help you fight an unbeatable enemy, it's Commander Jack Reeves. He's retired now, but he wrote the book on unconventional warfare tactics for Earth's military. Will he come? Asked Nevqua. Lori looked out at the stars, thinking of the stubborn, brilliant commander she had met years ago during her training. I don't know, she said honestly. But if he does, the Void Armada will wish they never came near the Confederation. As she left to make the most important call of her life, Lori felt the weight of 2 civilizations on her shoulders. The one she had been born into and the one she now served. Somewhere out there, a retired soldier was tending his garden, unaware that the fate of thousands of worlds might soon rest in his hands. Morning sunlight streamed through the windows as Jack Reeves moved slowly across his farmhouse porch. He settled into his favorite wooden chair, coffee mug in hand. 6 years into retirement, his body still carried reminders of his military days, slight limp from an old wound, scars that crisscrossed his arms and back. At 45, he felt older than his years. The small farm in rural Minnesota had become his sanctuary. Here, far from the chaos of his former life, he grew vegetables, raised a few chickens, and tried to forget the things he had seen and done during the Ganymede conflict. Another day alive, he murmured, his usual morning greeting to himself. He watched a hawk circle above the tree line and sipped his coffee. The sudden chirp of his communication device broke the morning quiet. Jack frowned. Few people had this contact number, and fewer still would use it unless something was wrong. He reached for the device and activated the screen. The face of General Diane Powell appeared, her expression serious. Even after all these years, Jack straightened instinctively at the sight of his former commanding officer. Jack, she said, it's been a while. 3 years, he replied. Not long enough if you're calling with bad news. Powell's mouth twitched in what might have been a smile. Always direct. I need you to come in. Jack shook his head. I'm retired. Diane. Done. Whatever crisis you're facing, find someone else. We received a distress call from the Galactic Confederation. Jack paused, the mug halfway to his lips. The aliens? The ones who tried to set up shop in our system 15 years ago? The same, Powell confirmed. They're facing extinction. An enemy force called the Void Armada has destroyed dozens of their worlds and will reach their core planets within days. And this concerns Earth how? They've asked for our help specifically, for your help. Jack laughed, a short, harsh sound. Me? Why would advanced aliens want help from a retired human soldier? Because you showed them what humans are capable of during the solar system incursion. Our tactics, our approach to warfare, it's different from anything in their experience. And apparently different is exactly what they need right now. Jack set his coffee down. The Confederation has technology centuries beyond ours. If they can't stop this Void Armada, what could I possibly do? Technology isn't everything, Powell said. You taught me that, remember? Sometimes the primitive solution is the one the enemy doesn't expect. Jack was quiet for a moment, thinking. I assume you've taken this to the president? I have. She's authorized a response team, small, elite, advisory capacity only. There are better officers than me, younger ones. None with your experience in asymmetric warfare, none who have actually fought against alien technology and won. Powell leaned closer to the camera. Jack, I wouldn't call if it wasn't critical. Intelligence suggests Earth is on the Void Armada's path. This is our chance to fight them on someone else's turf rather than our own. Jack stood and walked to the edge of the porch. He looked out over the fields he had planted just weeks ago, the work of his hands, the peace he had fought for. How long do I have to think about it? The transport leaves in 6 hours. The Confederation is sending a ship to rendezvous at our lunar base. Jack turned back to face the screen. 6 hours to decide if I want to go to war again. 6 hours to decide if you want to help save 2 civilizations, Powell corrected. After the call ended, Jack walked into his house and into the small office where he kept the remnants of his military life. A locked drawer contained his medals, his service records, and a photo of his old team, the Special Tactical Response Unit. 8 faces smiled back at him. 4 of them were now dead. Jack unlocked the bottom drawer and removed a small metal box. Inside lay the Medal of Valor he had received after the Ganymede conflict, the conflict that had cost him his best friend and left him with nightmares that still woke him some nights. His fingers traced the metal surface, feeling the weight of it. Was he really considering this? Going back into space, facing another alien enemy. He was older now, slower. The nightmares had only just begun to fade. The communication device chirped again. This time, a different face appeared on the screen. Captain Lori Adams, Earth's ambassador to the Confederation. Jack had met her once during a training exercise years ago. Commander Reeves, she said. I hope I'm not interrupting. General, Powell already called, Jack said. I haven't decided yet. I'm calling from the Confederation flagship, Lori said. Her voice sounded strained. I've seen what the Void Armada can do. Entire planets reduced to rubble. Billions of lives lost. These aliens aren't aggressors like the Confederation was when they approached Earth. The Confederation made mistakes, but they've learned from them. They're not perfect, but they don't deserve extinction. And you think I can help? One human? Not just you. A team. But yes, I believe humans approach warfare differently than the Confederation species. They fight with order, with patterns. The Void Armada uses chaos, unpredictability. Sound familiar? Jack nodded slowly. It did sound familiar. It sounded like the tactics his own unit had used against the technologically superior Confederation ships 15 years ago. The Void Armada won't stop with the Confederation, Lori continued. Earth will be next. We have a chance to learn about them, to fight them before they reach our doorstep. Jack looked again at the photo of his team, at the faces of friends who had given everything to protect Earth. If I do this, he said slowly, I pick my own team. Agreed, Lori replied, relief clear in her voice. And we go as advisors only. I'm not leading aliens into battle. The Confederation understands that. They need your knowledge more than your gun. Jack took a deep breath. Tell them I'll be there. 6 hours. After the call ended, Jack stood still for a long moment. Then he reached for his old military duffel bag, stored in the closet for 6 years. As he packed, his mind was already working, planning. If this Void Armada was as adaptable as they said, conventional tactics would fail. They would need to be unpredictable, aggressive, creative. They would need to be human. Jack made one more call, to his neighbor who would look after the farm, then stepped out onto his porch one last time. The hawk was still circling higher now, free in the clear blue sky. I might not make it back this time, he told the empty fields and the silent house. Then Commander Jack Reeves, retired but answering one last call, walked to his truck and drove, away from the peace he had built, toward the war that waited among the stars. The USS Defiant hummed with energy as it prepared to leave Earth's orbit. The sleek black ship was humanity's newest stealth destroyer, designed to move undetected through space. Today it carried Earth's best hope for stopping the Void Armada. Jack stood on the bridge watching as the final preparations were made. In just 6 hours he had selected his team and briefed them on what little they knew about the enemy. Now they were about to jump into the unknown. All systems check complete, Commander, said Lieutenant Commander Eric Martinez from the pilot's seat. We're ready when you are. Jack nodded and looked around at his hastily assembled team. Each member had been chosen for a specific skill, and each had dropped everything to answer his call. Lieutenant Samantha Wright checked her weapons with practiced ease. The youngest member of the team at 30, she was Earth's best marksman and tactical weapons expert. Her short red hair framed a face that rarely showed emotion. Weapon systems at full capacity, she reported without looking up. Beside her stood Dr. Alan Vasquez, a tall man with dark eyes that missed nothing. Once a military intelligence officer, he had become a leading xenobiologist, studying alien life forms and their behaviors. I've reviewed all available data on the Confederation species, Vasquez said. 7 distinct races, each with different biological strengths and weaknesses. None evolved as predator-prey species like humans. Chief Petty Officer Kyle Bennett worked at an engineering station. His thick hands moved with surprising grace over the controls as he monitored the ship's systems. As a combat engineer, he specialized in adapting technology to battlefield conditions. Ship's adaptive systems are online, he confirmed. We can modify our approach based on what we encounter. Captain Olivia Watson sat at the communications station. Her language skills made her invaluable. She was fluent in all known Confederation languages and had studied their cultural norms extensively. I've established a secure channel with the Confederation vessel, she said. They're waiting at the rendezvous point. Jack took a deep breath. This is a first for humanity, fighting alongside aliens to face a common enemy. Our job is to teach the Confederation how to fight in ways they've never considered. We're advisors, not saviors. Clear? His team nodded their understanding. Martinez, take us out. The ship moved away from Earth, accelerating toward the dimensional fold point that would take them to the Confederation's last stronghold. Dimensional fold in 3, 2, 1. Martinez counted down. Space twisted around them. For a moment, that seemed to stretch forever. The ship existed in 2 places at once. Then reality snapped back and they found themselves near a massive space station orbiting a blue-green planet. Nexus Prime, Watson said quietly. The Confederation capital world. A Confederation cruiser approached, its sleek design unlike any Earth vessel. It moved with perfect precision, escorting them toward the space station. They're sending docking instructions, Watson reported, and a message from Captain Adams. She'll meet us when we arrive. As they approached the station, the team got their first look at the Confederation fleet. Hundreds of ships formed perfect formations around the planet. Despite their advanced design, Jack immediately noticed a problem. They move like a single unit, he observed. Perfect coordination, no individual initiative. That's their military doctrine, Vasquez explained. The Confederation values unity above all. Each ship knows its exact place in the formation. Each crew member knows their precise role. And that's why they're losing, Jack said. Too predictable. The Defiant docked with the station and the team gathered their equipment. As the airlock opened, Captain Lori Adams waited to greet them. Behind her stood a tall, gray-skinned alien with 4 eyes and ornate uniform markings. "Commander Reeves," Lori said with obvious relief. "Thank you for coming." She gestured to the alien beside her. "This is Admiral Zix Vora, commander of the Confederation battle fleet." The alien stepped forward and made a formal gesture with all 4 hands. "Commander Reeves, your arrival gives our people hope. The Void Armada will reach our system in less than 2 cycles, what you would call Earth days." Jack returned the greeting with a simple nod. "We'll need to see all your battle footage and tactical data immediately." As they walked through the station, the human team drew curious and sometimes hostile looks from the alien crews they passed. "Many here are skeptical of your ability to help," Lori explained quietly. "The Confederation species have evolved beyond warfare as humans understand, yet they see our methods as primitive." "Being primitive isn't always a bad thing," Jack replied. They entered the Confederation Command Center, a vast room filled with holographic displays showing fleet positions and enemy movements. Several high-ranking alien officers turned to stare. As the humans entered, a tall, insect-like alien stepped forward, mandibles clicking in what Jack recognized as disapproval. "These are the warriors who will save us? They look so fragile." Lori stiffened beside Jack, but before she could respond, another voice cut in. "Commander Trelvox of the Artheon Division," Lori introduced through clenched teeth. The alien made a gesture that seemed dismissive. "These creatures are barely space-capable. Their technology is centuries behind ours." Jack stepped forward, meeting the alien's compound eyes without flinching. "That's true. And yet when your scouts entered our system 15 years ago, how long did it take our primitive species to disable your most advanced vessel?" The alien commander fell silent. "Technology isn't everything," Jack continued. "You called us because you're losing a war despite superior technology. We're here to show you what you're missing." Admiral Zix Vora intervened smoothly. "Commander, Reeves and his team will review our battle tactics and advise us on alternatives. They have fought and defeated enemies with superior technology before." Jack turned to the main display, which showed recordings of previous encounters with the Void Armada. He studied the movements of both fleets, looking for patterns. "I need to see more of the enemy's tactics," he said. Over the next several hours, the human team reviewed battle after battle, watching as the Confederation forces were systematically defeated, despite their advanced weapons and perfect formations. Finally, Jack turned to face the gathered Confederation officers. "Your fleets move like a single organism. That's your weakness. The Void Armada targets command structures and communication nodes, causing your perfect formation to collapse." He pointed to specific moments in the battle footage. "Here and here. When they take out your command ships, the rest of your fleet doesn't adapt. They wait for new orders that never come." "What alternative do you suggest?" asked Admiral Zix Vora. "Unpredictability, initiative at every level, and most importantly, you need to fight dirty." The Confederation officers exchanged glances. One of them, a female with luminescent skin, asked, "What does fight dirty mean?" Jack smiled grimly. "It means we're going to teach you how humans wage war, starting now." Time was running out. With only 2 days before the Void Armada reached the core systems, Jack's team began a crash course in human warfare for the Confederation forces. The largest training area on Nexus Prime had been cleared for their use. Here, surrounded by curious and doubtful alien officers, Jack laid out his plan. First rule of human warfare: never do what the enemy expects, Jack told the gathered aliens. Your ships move in perfect formations. The Void Armada has learned, to predict your movements, we need to make you unpredictable. Admiral Zix Vora nodded slowly. How do we achieve this? We start by breaking down your command structure, Jack said. Each ship captain needs authority to act independently if communication fails. The suggestion caused immediate unrest among the Confederation officers. Impossible, said Commander Trelvox of the Artheon Division. Our fleet operates as one mind, one purpose, Individual action leads to chaos. Exactly, Jack agreed. Controlled. Chaos is what we need. The Void Armada expects order. We'll give them chaos. He turned to his team, assigning each member to work with different groups of the Confederation forces. Dr. Vasquez went with a group of Confederation engineers to reconfigure their weapon systems. In a large workshop filled with technology beyond Earth's capabilities, he pointed to their elegant weapon designs. These are beautiful, he admitted. Perfect energy distribution, minimal waste, but too predictable. Our weapons are the most efficient in the galaxy, said the chief engineer, a small six-armed alien named Kelnar. Efficiency isn't always an advantage in battle, Vasquez explained. Sometimes you need weapons that create chaos rather than precision. He sketched a design on a display screen, a simple modification that would make their energy weapons fire in random patterns instead of straight lines. The energy output will be less efficient, he admitted. But the enemy won't be able to predict where to block. Across the station, Lieutenant Wright worked with Confederation soldiers on movement tactics. She watched as a group of Artheon warriors moved through a training course with perfect coordination. "Stop," she called out. "You're all moving the same way. In a real battle, you need to be unpredictable." "This is how we are trained," said the lead warrior, confusion in his compound eyes. Wright shook her head. "Watch me." She ran through the course, changing direction randomly, using cover in unexpected ways, never establishing a pattern. "Move like your life depends on it," she told them. Because it does. In another section, Chief Bennett worked with defense specialists on a concept completely foreign to the Confederation: booby traps and mines. "These are dishonorable weapons," protested one of the aliens. "They strike without warning, without giving the enemy a chance to defend themselves." "Honor doesn't matter if you're extinct," Bennett replied bluntly. "The Void Armada isn't fighting with honor. They're fighting to win." He demonstrated how simple devices could be hidden in asteroid fields or space debris, triggering only when enemy ships passed nearby. "Sometimes the most effective weapon is the one the enemy doesn't see coming," he explained. Meanwhile, Captain Watson and Lieutenant Commander Martinez worked with fleet commanders on implementing randomized formations that could rapidly reconfigure without central command. "Your current formations are beautiful but predictable," Martinez told them, showing holographic displays of their standard patterns. "We need to break these patterns and create new ones that can shift quickly." "How will ships know where to go, without precise coordinates?" asked a fleet commander. "They'll follow basic rules but with individual freedom to adapt," Watson explained. "Like birds flocking or fish schooling on Earth. Each follows simple rules, but the group creates complex patterns that can change instantly." While his team worked with various groups, Jack focused on the highest-ranking officers, changing their understanding of command itself. "A good commander doesn't control every move," he told them. "They set objectives and trust their people to achieve them in their own way." "But how can we ensure victory without control?" asked Admiral Zixvora. "You can't ensure victory," Jack said honestly. "War is always uncertain, but flexible forces survive when rigid ones break." By the end of the first day, frustration was high among both humans and aliens. The Confederation species had evolved, with highly structured societies. The concept of controlled chaos felt wrong to them on a deep level. "This isn't working," Lori told Jack privately as they took a brief rest. "They can't change centuries of military doctrine in 2 days." Jack rubbed his tired eyes. "They have to. There's no other way." "Maybe we need to show them, not just tell them," Lori suggested. Jack considered this, then nodded. "You're right, Admiral Zixvora," he called out. "I want to run a simulation." The Admiral approached. "What kind of simulation?" "Combat. Your best officers using your traditional tactics against a team using our methods." The simulation chamber was a massive room where holographic projections created realistic battle scenarios. Jack divided the Confederation officers into 2 teams, one following traditional doctrine and the other implementing the new human tactics they had just begun to learn. "The goal is simple," Jack explained. "Team 1 will defend the space station. Team 2 will attack it. Traditional tactics, versus human-inspired tactics. The simulation began. Team 1, using traditional Confederation methods, established a perfect defensive formation around the station. Their ships moved with precision, their weapon systems targeted with perfect efficiency. Team 2, struggling to apply the human methods, began with confusion. Their movements seemed random, even chaotic. But slowly a pattern emerged. Not the rigid pattern of traditional tactics, but a fluid, adaptive approach. When Team 1 fired at a target, they found it had already moved. When they tried to predict movements, Team 2 changed direction. When they focused firepower on a main attack group, they were hit from behind by ships that had circled around using space debris as cover. In less than an hour, the simulation ended. Team 2 had broken through the defenses with minimal losses. Team 1 had been systematically dismantled despite having superior position and firepower. The chamber fell silent as the results appeared on the main display. Admiral Zix Vora stared at the numbers in disbelief. "This can't be correct," said Commander Trelvox. Team 2 barely knew what they were doing. "Exactly," Jack said. "They were unpredictable. They adapted. They surprised you. Just like the Void Armada does to your fleet, and just like we'll need to do to them." He turned to address all the officers. "Now, do you understand why we fight this way? It's not about beauty or perfection. It's about survival." For the first time, Jack saw real understanding in their alien eyes. The demonstration had shown what his words could not. "We have 1 day left," he told them. "We need to implement these changes across your entire fleet. It won't be perfect, but it doesn't need to be. It just needs to be unexpected." As the officers dispersed to continue training with renewed purpose, Admiral Zix Vora approached Jack. Privately. "Your species frightens me, Commander Reeves," he admitted. "The way you think about warfare, it's so different from anything we've known." Jack nodded. "That's why you called us. And that's why we might just win this thing." The alarm sounded throughout Nexus Prime. The Void Armada had arrived sooner than expected. Jack rushed to the command center where Admiral Zix Vora was already organizing the defense. "They're at the edge of the system," the Admiral reported. "At least 300 ships, maybe more." Jack studied the tactical display. The Void Armada moved like a dark cloud through space, their black ships forming shifting patterns that were hard to track. "Are your forces ready?" Jack asked. "As ready as they can be after 1 day of training," Zix Vora replied. "The fleet captains understand the basic concepts, but this goes against all our instincts." Jack nodded. "Tell them to trust those instincts less and their training more. Where do you want my team?" "Here with me," the Admiral said. "Your knowledge is our greatest weapon." Jack's team took positions around the command center. Lieutenant Wright monitored weapon systems. Dr. Vasquez analyzed enemy movements. Chief Bennett tracked the special modifications they had made to the Confederation ships, and Captain Watson maintained communications with the fleet. Lieutenant, Commander Martinez stood ready at a secondary control station, prepared to take over if needed. "The Void Armada is advancing," reported a sensor officer. "They'll be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Jack turned to Zix Vora. "It's time to see if our training worked. Give the order." The Admiral opened a channel to the entire fleet. "This is Admiral Zix Vora. Implement Tactical Plan Reeves 1. May the stars guide us." The Confederation ships, which had been holding in traditional defensive formations, suddenly broke pattern. Ships scattered in seemingly random directions, forming smaller, irregular groups instead of the perfect lines they normally used. On the main display, Jack could see confusion ripple through the Void Armada. Their advance slowed as they tried to assess the new Confederation formation. "They're used to you forming predictable patterns," Jack explained. "Now they don't know what to expect." The Void Armada adjusted quickly, however. Their ships accelerated, again, heading toward what appeared to be weak points in the scattered Confederation forces. "They're targeting our smallest groups," Wright observed. "Just as we expected," Jack said. "Activate Phase 2. Admiral Zix Vora gave the command, and the Confederation forces began their next move. The smaller groups that had appeared vulnerable suddenly changed course, revealing hidden weapons platforms that had been concealed behind them. Energy beams lanced out from these platforms, catching several void ships by surprise. "First blood to us," Chief Bennett said with satisfaction. "Those modified weapons are working." The Void Armada reacted swiftly, adjusting their formation to deal with the new threat. They began jamming communications between Confederation ships, a tactic that had worked well in previous battles. "They're trying to cut our command links," warned a communications officer. "Good," Jack replied, surprising the alien crew members. "Now our captains can act independently just like we trained them." Sure enough, as communications became difficult, the Confederation ships began to operate according to their new training. Instead of freezing or waiting for orders, each captain made decisions based on their local situation. Some retreated, drawing enemy ships into ambushes. Others attacked from unexpected angles. For the first time, the Void Armada seemed confused by the Confederation tactics. "It's working," Lori said from her position near Jack. "They don't know how to counter this." But the battle was far from over. The Void Armada, true to its name, was vast. As the first wave of their ships engaged with the Confederation forces, a second wave moved into position. "They're adapting," Dr. Vasquez warned. "Their second wave is forming new patterns based on what they've learned from the first engagement." "Time for our secret weapon," Jack said. He turned to Admiral Zix Vora. "Launch Operation Trojan." The Admiral hesitated for just a moment, then nodded. "Launch Operation Trojan," he commanded. From behind Nexus Prime's largest moon came a new group of ships, hundreds of unmanned drones converted from mining vessels. Each was loaded with explosives and minimal guidance systems. "In human history," Jack explained to the stunned Admiral, "we learned that sometimes you must sacrifice pieces to win the game." The drones accelerated toward the Void Armada's second wave. Most were destroyed before they could reach their targets, but enough got through. Explosions bloomed across space as they impacted with void ships or detonated near them. "They're breaking formation," Wright reported. "The explosions have disrupted their sensor grid." "All ships, advance now," ordered Admiral Zix Vora. The Confederation forces pressed forward, taking advantage of the confusion. Ships engaged in close combat, using the unpredictable movements they had practiced to stay one step ahead of the enemy. The battle raged for hours. The Confederation suffered heavy losses, but for the first time, the Void Armada experienced genuine confusion and disarray. "Lieutenant Wright," Jack called. "Are you seeing a pattern in how they respond to multiple threats?" Wright studied the tactical display intently. "Yes, when attacked from multiple directions, they always prioritize the threat to their rear quadrant first." "Which suggests their command structure is located there," Jack said. "Admiral, I need your fastest ships to form a strike team." As the battle continued, Jack formulated a desperate plan. "We need to hit their command center, that's the key." "Lieutenant," Commander Martinez stepped forward. "The Defiant is the fastest ship we have. I can get through their lines." Jack considered this. It would be a near-suicide mission, but if it worked, "Do it," he decided. "Take Wright with you. She has the best chance of identifying their command ship once you're close." Martinez and Wright rushed to prepare the Defiant, while Jack explained the plan to Admiral Zix Vora. "We'll create a diversion," the Admiral agreed. "All available ships will concentrate fire on their front lines, drawing attention away from your strike team." The plan was set in motion. The Confederation ships launched a massive assault on the Void Armada's forward section. Meanwhile, the USS Defiant, running with minimal power to avoid detection, slipped around the edge of the battle zone. "They're in position," Watson reported, monitoring the Defiant's progress. "Now," Jack ordered. The Defiant powered up suddenly and accelerated straight toward the rear of the Void Armada. Enemy ships turned to intercept, but the human vessel was too fast, too agile. Using the unpredictable movement patterns Wright had taught the Confederation forces, Martinez piloted the ship through the enemy formation. "They've identified a command ship," Watson announced, relaying information from the Defiant. "Bennett's modified weapons are ready." On the main display, Jack watched as the Defiant fired on a large vessel near the center of the rear formation. The modified weapons, designed by Bennett to be chaotic rather than precise, overwhelmed the ships. Defenses. Direct hit, Watson reported. They've damaged the command vessel. The effect rippled through the Void Armada. Their perfect coordination faltered. Ships began moving erratically, some colliding with others as their formation broke down. Just as we thought, Jack said with grim satisfaction. They rely on central control just like the Confederation did. Without it, they lose cohesion. Admiral Zix Vora seized the moment. All ships press the attack. The remaining Confederation forces surged forward, targeting the now disorganized enemy. For the first time since the war began, the Void Armada was on the defensive. Hours later, as the remnants of the Void Armada retreated from the system, Jack stood with his team and the Confederation leaders in the command center. The cost had been high, nearly half the Confederation fleet destroyed, but they had won. Your species frightens me, Commander Reeves, Admiral Zix Vora said quietly. Jack looked at the Admiral. Good. Maybe next time you'll think twice before approaching Earth. Lori stepped forward. Or maybe next time you'll approach as genuine allies. The Admiral considered this. Perhaps. Today has taught us that there is much more to learn from humanity than we ever imagined. As celebrations began across the Confederation, Jack's team prepared for their return journey to Earth. They left behind not just a saved civilization, but a transformed one that now understood that true strength comes not from technological superiority, but from the unbreakable human spirit forged through millennia of struggle. The Confederation, humbled by their near defeat and saved by the species they once dismissed, established a new military academy named after Earth. The first step in a genuine alliance between the stars.